Have you ever played a game so captivating that you never wanted it to end? A game where you immersed yourself in every bit of lore, collected every item, defeated every adversary, and still craved more? I've experienced this magic with a few titles over the years, and found that sometimes the sequels fell short of capturing the magic of the original. Nowadays, downloadable content and expansions are far more common, offering quick and affordable ways to extend a game's life. But even before the era of DLC, some games expanded their stories through full releases using the same engine, with minor changes. Ys I and II are perfect examples of this. I reviewed Ys I, Ancient East Vanished, a couple of years ago, and now I'm finally diving into its sequel, Ys II, Ancient East Vanished Final Chapter. Originally developed by Nihon Falcom for the PC-88 and the PC-98 in 1998, this game has been ported to various platforms over the years. For this review, I played Ys II on the Sony PlayStation Portable as part of the Ys I II Chronicles collection on normal difficulty. We play as Adol Kristen in one of his many adventures that span the Ys series. Within this tale, we feel his sabatons as he awakens to find a young girl, Lilia, looking over him with a worried expression on her face. After soon blacking out from the ordeals of the previous game, he wakes up again in Lilia's home within the village of Lance. Lance is a small remote settlement that rests upon the outskirts of the ancient land of Ys, a continent that had previously been believed to have vanished. Whilst the townfolk are kind and nurse Adol back to health, they aren't without their own issues, as we soon learn that there has been a cave-in at the nearby Rastani mine, and Dr. Flair, who was gathering herbs, has become trapped within it. Being the kind-natured soul that he is, Adol decides to help, and in so doing discovers statues of the priests of Ys who pen the tomes that Adol conveniently happens to be holding. Returning these ancient books to their rightful owners begins a quest that will see Adol learn about the legacy of magic and its sordid origin. I really enjoyed the way the narrative unfolded. Whilst Adol is a silent protagonist, blue text narrates his actions and feelings, providing a tactile edge to the tale, almost as though you could experience our red-haired protagonist's emotions alongside him. In this regard, it reminded me a lot of reading a book. The supporting characters that assist Adol in his quest add to his growth as a character, allowing the player to grow closer to him and the cast as he rescues and assists the citizens of Ys. One thing that I found interesting is that in this part of his grand adventure, Adol is only 17, making this quest one of his first within the entire timeline. The fact that he can accomplish so much and overcome such adversity, almost alone, is amazing. A little on the depressing side this time around is the fact that there is no Dogi to bust through a wall and rescue our hero, though that does not mean that he didn't make an appearance at all, at least in my game. Before Adol can embark upon his adventure, he must once again furnish himself with equipment, as he appears to have lost everything other than the books of Ys when he was transported to the floating island in a stream of bright light. If you decide to venture out into hostile locations without being adequately outfitted, then Adol will shortly be seeing the Grim Reaper. This does not apply to only the start of the game either, as this game is tough, and you will be seeing the game over screen a lot. Adol can equip a sword, a shield, and some armor, as well as an item, all of which contribute to his survivability in tough situations. Being that he is in a weakened state, of course he begins the game at level 1, and you must grind him back up to his former glory. Fortunately, in this title the level cap is 55, meaning that whilst Adol has a long way to go, he also will become very formidable compared to the previous game, though do expect there to be a lot of trial and error on the way to the top. After Adol recovers and gains enough strength to undertake his adventure, the game sees him exploring a variety of locations with diverse biomes and environments. One minute he's climbing an icy cliff, desperately trying not to slip and fall on his face, and the next he is sweating it out in lava caves, avoiding enemies that turn invisible and could push him into the lava flow. I enjoyed that Ys II presented a more varied background for the journey to be travelled along. That's not to say that there are no boring caves and stone palaces, as these do exist too. However, the addition of other environments elevates this game and makes it more enjoyable. On the negative, I didn't like the layout of some of the locations, with almost all of them being a labyrinth that needed to be overcome, especially the Rastani mines, which had a dark pole thrown over it, making it difficult to see where you were going. Whilst in other games mazes don't tend to bother me so much, Ys encourages players to run at breakneck speeds thanks to the way that the combat is handled, meaning that you may often find yourself running around in circles and getting frustrated at the game because it doesn't tell you exactly where it wants you to go. I suppose it's time to once again discuss the combat. Ys II uses the bump system that was found in the previous title. To defeat enemies, Adol must run into them, which is counterintuitive to effective battle stances and survival, but okay. If he does this directly from the front, the enemy will retaliate. However, if he manages to attack them slightly off-center, from the side, back, or even diagonally, Adol becomes impervious to their counters. Do be wary, as if Adol takes too much damage, he will become addled, and you will see the game over screen. This happens a lot, especially in some of the tight and cramped spaces, where it is sometimes difficult to line up Adol's attacks, but then this is where the advent of magic comes into play. Brute strength alone will not avail Adol of his goal, as some enemies are even impervious to physical attacks. Lucky for him, he is gifted with a variety of situational based magic that will make his quest easier. Fire magic for attacking distant enemies, light magic to illuminate dark places, teleportation magic to return to safe havens, transformation magic to change his form, time magic to stop enemies in their tracks, and shield magic to make himself impervious to all attacks. For a first attempt at employing magic into this style of game, whilst there isn't a lot of versatility to the magic given in regards to how it's handled within combat, what's there is enough to help Adol reach his goal. The only real one that is combat capable is fire magic, which can be deployed in rapid succession, or charged and unleashed in a more damaging shot. But do be careful that you don't run out of MP and end up not being able to use magic at all, and then being stranded and not being able to return to a home base. There are even some accessories that you can find that will turn the fire magic into homing missiles, and turn the flames blue, making them stronger. Of all the magic, my favourite would have to be the transformation one that turns Adol into a Roo. In a monster form, enemies become non-hostile, and rather than attacking him, are more likely to strike up a conversation. I enjoyed the added lore that this action gave to locations and characters, and it was also interesting to try interacting with townsfolk in the various settlements whilst disguised as a Roo. Stepping in the way of Adol reaching his goal are many formidable foes that require extra precision to beat. These bosses offer more of a challenge over the normal enemies, and bump combat doesn't work for almost all of them, forcing Adol to rely on the fire magic that he was gifted. In Ys II, this time around, the accessory and item taken into the boss arena does have an effect. However, you cannot change what you have equipped once locked into the thrall of combat, so it is advised to make sure you save outside of every ornamented glyph door, lest you die quickly and have to restart. I just loved that one boss that crawled out of the cave mouth and happened to land right where I'd stood Adol, killing him instantly even before the battle had a chance to begin. I will say though that the last boss was much easier to contend with than what the final boss of Ys was, and I was glad there was no more running around like a pinball, though in hindsight thinking about it now, the boss of Ys II kind of did look like it was the pinball and Adol the flippers. If you happen to forget who any of the characters are, there is a note system similar to the one found in the previous game that outlines information on every single character that you encounter within the game. It was a nice touch as it gave a little more exposition on the residents of Ys, and sometimes their relationships to one another. Characters also changed what they said after important story events, so it always paid to return to all of the previous towns to check in on them and see what they had to say. As I mentioned earlier, Dogi is decidedly absent in this title, though you can hang a mascot somewhere in your screen real estate to silently cheer you on as you crash your way through the innards and viscous liquids of every foe Adol savagely slays. Of course, I chose Dogi and pinned him against the top right of the screen, where he chinked against the edge of the game's frame of view every time Adol went a little too fast, smiling all the way with hands on his hips, expressing his pride at Adol's actions like an adoring older brother. I was surprised to discover that there was a large variety of characters that you can choose from, including enemy models, though I stuck with Dogi for obvious reasons. The world of Ys, or should I say, the floating island of Ys, is brought to life through dynamically rich environments to serve as a background to Adol's quest. As the game was enhanced for the PlayStation Portable, high fidelity pixels blend characters and environments in a wide range of colours, from the lush greens of Lance Village to the fiery reds of the Burning Cavern, which in turn brings each location to life. Hand-drawn art is used for key scenes depicting situations where Adol is having a deep conversation with other characters. In these scenes, it's nice to see the added details which give a hint as to how people live their lives, such as Benoa sitting before herbs drying against the wall, whilst a cup of tea sits not far from hand. Dynamic lighting enlivens the world, particularly through the effects of magic, adding an element of awe and mysticism to each feat performed. Enemy designs are varied based on the environment to which they inhabit, presenting Adol with a challenge and a sense of dread when encountering them, especially within the last part of the game. The user interface is non-intrusive, and elements of it can be disabled, meaning that you can further enhance your experience without distractions. The soundtrack was composed by Yuzo Koshiro and Mieko Ishikawa in a blend of rock, symphonic rock, orchestral music, and electronic sounds that invokes tension in high-risk areas and an edge of tenderness and nostalgia in settlements that just want to live their lives peacefully. For the Ys I II Chronicles version of the game, the Falcom sound team JDK lovingly remixed the original tracks, keeping true to the original themes whilst enhancing the sound through more modern composite techniques. My favourite track is called Tender People, which plays in Ramia Village, a settlement that rests on the border of Solomon's Shrine, where the demons have recently run amok. Though the residents are terrified that the next abduction may come tomorrow, the music reflects the solemn and tender sound, invoking a feeling of longing and reminiscence, not only of how the town used to be under the guidance of the missing goddesses, but also reflecting the hearts of the people who willingly assist Adol in his mission despite their current suffering. The track just oozes warmth from the strings, piano, and synth pads, which contribute to the overall rich layered sound. It just soothes my soul. Ys II Ancient East Vanished Final Chapter is a stellar continuation of Adol Kristen's epic journey, offering a rich blend of engaging narrative, challenging gameplay, and captivating music. The game's ability to immerse the player in its world through detailed lore, vibrant environments, and strategic combat is a testament to its legacy and goes some way toward explaining why the series is still around to this day. Whilst it retains a classic bump combat system from its predecessor, the introduction of magic adds a refreshing layer of complexity and strategy, giving the game more depth. Despite some frustrating maze-like levels and the absence of Dogi's dynamic presence, Ys II manages to stand out as a remarkable sequel that not only honours the original, but builds upon it, enhancing the experience with new elements and deeper storytelling. Whether you're a long-time fan of the series, or a newcomer, Ys II is a must-play that will leave you longing for more adventures with our lovable red-headed warrior, though next time, hopefully not shipwrecked or amnesiac. By the way, what are your thoughts on the first two Ys games? Have you played them yourself, and what iteration did you play? Let me know in the comments. This has been Venoir with a review of Ys II Ancient East Vanished Final Chapter for the Sony PlayStation Portable. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe for more great action RPG content. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. It means a lot to me. Take care of yourselves and catch you next time. Bye bye for now.